Oh, this is funny. Right here. CNN looks doomed. CNN Plus looks doomed. Now, this came out 2 days ago, April 19th. Now, immediately, today, not immediately, CNN is doomed. CNN is doomed. Warner Brothers Discovery is shutting down CNN Plus. Now, CNN Plus was this kind of streaming service that they were trying to get into the streaming wars with the other shows like Fox Nation, and I believe CBS has their own streaming service also. And so this was CNN for a way into that. They wanted to basically go beyond just doing like this kind of web and TV type stuff, and they wanted to have a streaming service to kind of diversify their income. Now, I would say that I had friends on the Death Star. Now, what do I mean by that? Is I used to have a shirt that says I had friends on the Death Star. And I realized, some of those people on the Death Star were going to be janitors, cooks, barbers, computer programmers, etc., etc., etc. And the same thing is true with the CNN thing. So I do want to create this kind of window into my thinking in the sense of I feel bad for all of the people that basically lost their jobs. They dumped in $300 million, basically set $300 million on fire. CNN Plus was only in operation for a month. They were only able to bring in 150,000 people. So, while my heart goes out to all of those good, decent people who I assume exist at CNN, who basically lost their jobs. Just want to be very clear about that. On the other side, ha ha. The only funny part in all of this is to believe that CNN, or anybody for that matter, believe or were so self-assured that anybody would ever want to spend money to buy and watch CNN. Why would anybody want to watch that? If you think about all the stuff that's been reported that's been wrong, CNN has been in the forefront of getting it wrong. I mean, the Russiagate stuff, the weapons of mass destruction, and you could say many other organizations got it wrong, but even if we're talking about stuff recently, they were outed by NBC News, just like NBC News outed many of the other people who were involved in that. Where is it? Right here. The NBC News article that basically made the point and said they've been lying flagrantly for the course of the last several months, meaning the US government. And CNN, like many of the other ones, carried that stuff. My point is, why on earth did anybody honestly believe that people in this country, especially from the standpoint of volume of people in this country, would want to spend any of their hard-earned money to watch the trash that CNN puts out on a daily basis? Why? It's not like it's news. Mostly it's just this anonymous source said this, this anonymous source said that. And fact of the matter is, you can get that anywhere. You can get that anywhere. You can turn on Washington Post. You can turn on regular CNN. You can get regular CNN on the web. Yes, there may be different shows, but are the shows so different that you would want to put money in order to see it? I was highly doubtful. But that's me, and I don't necessarily like CNN. I think it's trash. What does it mean from the standpoint of the American public? And would the American public look at it and be like, yes, this is a great value. This is a great value. The answer is no. The American public did not look at that and say that is a great value. The American public was apparently like me, who thought to themselves, why did they think that was a good idea? Why did you think that people would pay for that? Why did you think people would care that you came up with a streaming service? And yeah, that's basically where people ended up. Now, depends on who you talk to on why this basically failed. Now, some people would say it failed because it's obvious. Nobody wants to pay money to watch CNN. They don't barely watch the regular CNN. Why would they pay money to a streaming service to watch it when they would barely watch the regular CNN? Okay, so there's that. The other idea boiled down to, though, that the merger that was taking place between Warner Brothers and Discovery. And in that merger, there were certain legalities where one side couldn't entirely talk to the other in regards to giving them their wishes about what they wanted to do. Point is that Discovery never wanted this in the first place. And so while all of this was taking place, CNN is like, yes, we're going to diversify our income stream, and we're going to get all of these people on the streaming service, and in 4 years, we're going to dump in $1 billion, and we're going to have millions of people watching us. We're going to be great. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. And Discovery at that point was looking at it like, this is a horrible idea. Not only does this not make sense, this doesn't fit into our model of what we want to do in regards to the company. So, as Discovery is taking over, and the new CEO apparently is going to be taking place on May 2nd, I believe. On April 30th, CNN Plus will be no more, officially. And they're basically pulling the plug. It's only been in operation for a month. And all of those people that they basically hired are going to be apparently fired, even though they're going to get a decent pay package going forward. I mean, after all, they spent $300 million on it, or at the very least set it on fire. Just to give a heads up in regards to what they're giving the people who are basically leaving, it's actually, all things being equal, not bad. Employees of CNN Plus will continue to get paid and receive benefits for 90 days after the service shuts down. If they cannot find work within Warner Brothers Discovery within that time frame, they will receive a 6-month severance per company's internal memo. That is not bad. Keep in mind, CNN, in interest of full discovery, came after fault lines. And not just came after fault lines, was going and talking to the FCC, Rumble, in order to try to get Sputnik kicked off of Rumble, and for that matter, to try to get the FCC involved in taking us off the air. So, when I see CNN Plus, an organization that I consider to be a trash organization, that basically puts out rumor and gets it wrong constantly, and when Brian Stelter is confronted on that nonsense, Brian Stelter is like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Then brings on an expert who tells Brian Stelter, yes, you are basically also propaganda. So that network, that comically ridiculous network, where one guy can't keep his hands to himself, the other one decides to help his brother, who is in a sexual harassment suit by multiple women, who gets deposed as governor, and then he himself gets fired because he's using company resources in order to help that brother who's a pervert. Then you have Don Lemon, who reaches out behind the scenes in order to talk to Jussie Smollett. And again, Jussie Smollett is in a trial. Don Lemon is covering that trial, Don Lemon himself being black and himself also being gay, and Jussie Smollett being black and also being gay. And so he finds this affinity with the gentleman and reaches out while covering that case. I mean, yeah, it's a network with issues. And now that network with issues, or at the very least its mobile service, is collapsing. It's collapsing. The video that CNN did of Radio Sputnik, by the way, was kind of the point that I'm making on some level. The guy was riding around in a car because he didn't know where the network was, and he was listening to the radio. That was the report. And of course, they would talk about this or that, and they would do these cuts and everything else. But the basis of the story was this gentleman riding around in a car, listening to it. Now, what they wanted to do was basically what they wanted to do to RT, which was to interview some idiot that was going to be at the studio, and that person would show them location. And when they show them the location, they could basically have a bunch of people and protesters and everyone else come to that location after they dox the place, which is what one of the other organizations basically did. You had all of these people basically threatening the employees and the workers who basically work there. So, yes, I will carve out a green zone of sympathy for the employees. The good ones, anyway. They basically lost their jobs through no fault of their own. They decided to go into a risky enterprise. They should have known that it is indeed CNN and that no one in their right mind would ever pay money in order to watch CNN on a streaming platform. But nevertheless, hope springs eternal, right? And in that very specific case, they shouldn't necessarily be penalized for that. So, green zone of sympathy for those people. From the standpoint of the organization, zero. Zero. It was a stupid idea from conception. And this self-aggrandizing view of yourself to even spend $300 million on something like that, when again, your regular network itself is a trash network with very low ratings. To each his own, I suppose. It's your $300 million to burn, and that, indeed, what happened to it. You might as well set it on the White House lawn pour gasoline on it, and set it on fire. April 31st, April 30th, the end of CNN Plus. Like, share,